Hey guys, welcome back to another Train Like a King podcast episode. This is a first of its kind because I am filming and audio on my laptop. So the video isn't the highest quality. Hopefully the audio is good because I've got a decent microphone here. However, I thought in this episode, it's been a little while. I haven't been too consistent with the episodes. So I've wanted to just jump on here. Haven't even organized any specific topics, but I want to get on here and talk about my recent trip to Los Angeles. While it's still fresh in my mind, it was a big weekend, amazing weekend. Go over that, go over maybe a little bit of what's ahead, maybe some things I've missed in the past that I haven't talked about. And just really hope you guys enjoy this podcast episode and hope to get a few more out there, because I know that a lot of you are keen on this kind of content. So first of all, before I even get into this specific episode, I just want to remind everyone, if you haven't seen, we have a few new things going on at the moment. Number one, I have updated all the Train Like a King plans that are on our website. Everything from sprint distance to long distance training plans, anywhere between 4-week, 8-week, 12-week, or even up to 16-week lengths in duration. Now, I'm very happy with how these have turned out because, I've had my other plans up for a few years now, and I thought it's time to take that next step up, and I'm really happy with these. Now, it's both on water and land training. So the on-water part, consists of 4 different training phases. I've actually changed the name of the phases. They used to be endurance, threshold, VO2 max, and race-specific phases. Now I've got base, strength, speed, and peak for the sprints. And then for the long distance, a little bit different because strength training or strength resistance on the water isn't as important for the distance paddling races. So I've got base 1, base 2, speed, and then peak. So emphasizing the importance of building the aerobic system. That's hence why I have 2 base phases in the long distance training plans. Now, the land training components or the strength and conditioning components both have cardio in the forms of running or your choice of swimming, etc., etc. However, the general strength and gym component has elements of anatomical adaptation, which is just getting the body used to lifting weights again, strength or maximal strength, so building strength that you can't necessarily build on the water by hitting low reps and higher load. And then we have explosive power, because there's no point in being super strong if you can't apply that to a sport specific setting. So the explosiveness in the gym will help convert some of that strength, but keep in mind that actually the peak phase of your training phases on water will actually help to turn that strength into paddling specific strength. That'll actually be the most important part. So there is also, it's important to note, in the distance, there is a little bit less land or strength training involved, especially towards the competitive phase, which is the peak phase. There's less of that. Now, the next thing that's new to Train Like a King is we have collaborated with Thai paddles, and we have a range of different designs and different types of paddles to suit pretty much every paddler. So go on there and have a look and check out which designs you like the best, because the paddles are all very similar. The blade is a broad bill. It's a 9.5 inch width, so it's pretty generic in terms of anyone. You don't really want to go any bigger size than that. Never really seen anyone go any often go larger than that, and you don't really need to go any smaller. So then you also have a wooden shaft option, which is it has a little bit more flex, and then you have a full carbon shaft option, which is a little bit more stiff but lighter. Really good for the sprints. And then I would say maybe V1 pedaling in the ocean, where your strokes are so dynamic. The flex of the wood might be a good option too, but it's all what you might pedal OC1, so a carbon shaft is just as good. So yeah, those two things are new training plans, new pedals, and we also have a bit of new merchandise out there, so make sure you go onto the website and check that out. If you have any questions, just email us at training@tupuriaking.com, and I'll do my best to get back to you. So let's get into the episode. Basically, so what was on this previous weekend, look, as you can see if you're watching on the video, I'm wearing a Lanakila t-shirt. Lanakila, which is the club of Danny Ching, and Ryland Hart out of Redondo Beach, California. That club was started by Danny's father way back, and it was cool to hear the story of how the Lanakila club progressed from basically just being a piece of grass, where Danny's father chose to put some canoes on to make it easier for everyone to get on the water, and now you look at it now, it's one of the biggest clubs in the region. So I was invited alongside a few other champions, so myself, Steve Tehotata, Danny Ching, Ryland Hart, and Manutia Mion, and Darren from Tahiti also, to go over and compete in the third Va'a California V1 race of the season, which was the longer race. So it was 33 kilometers. This race was 33 kilometers, and yeah, it was awesome. I know Steve and Darren have done this race a few times. We've also had Hititua Tairea go over, and I know that Danny Ching has beaten a couple of these champs a few times too, so this race is starting to build a bit of recognition, and it's a primo place to go to race. I must say myself, I actually really enjoy LA and the water, not only just the water there, the paddling, but just it's pretty cool to go somewhere new. I used to travel to LA a lot with Paddling Connection for the Catalina crossing. We won that 3 or 4 times. I traveled there with Kevin for the Wild Buffalo Relay, which we lost one time to Danny and Ryland, and then we won one time against Danny and Ryland on the V1. So and then later on also with Kalahui Kai, managed to do the Catalina crossing a couple of times, and we were successful there, or another time we were beaten by the infamous Shalva. But yeah, so really enjoy going over there, and this weekend was no different. What made it really attractive for me was the fact that Danny Ching and Kelly organised coaching clinics for us, and as a group we delivered coaching clinics for 3 days, so 2 days before the race and then 1 day after the race. So it was really cool to share our knowledge, and with 15 or so paddlers who came, each day had around that number. And so not only was it cool to share our own knowledge with those paddlers, but it was actually cool to hear all of the other champions coach. And because sometimes you might be trying to say the same thing, but it just comes out a little bit differently. So it's cool to hear the different perspectives, and you walk away with little golden nuggets that you can add to your repertoire as well. So big ups to the rest of the boys, and for putting on this clinic, Kelly for organising it, and everything just ran super smoothly. We did all of the clinics out of Newport Aquatic Centre, or in Newport Beach anyway, and everything from steering of E1, surfing of E1, training, nutrition, race strategies, things like that. So I wouldn't mind if we actually teamed up and did another one, whether it's in LA or if it's here in New Zealand. Maybe you know, bring some of these champions over to some of the best races that we have to offer here, or who knows, you know, take it down to take it over to Australia, or who knows, whoever wants us really. Brazil. So yeah, it was cool, really good time. But what made it even better weekend was the fact that my wife and her Blackfern Sevens team were playing in LA for the first time, and I got to go every day and watch her play professional rugby sevens every day. And to top it off, took a few of the boys to the final on the Sunday. Rylan, Manutia, Danny, Turbo Tony, Rylan's dad, and Danny's daughters, to watch the grand final between our girls, New Zealand girls, and Australia, and we won in pretty pristine fashion. So that just tipped off the weekend. You know, we were buzzing Sunday night, so went out and had a little bit of a celebration, and then got one last paddle in with Danny and Lanakita Club on the Monday, sorry, before me and Manutia took our flight back home. So here I am, back home. But a little bit about the race itself. So the race was scheduled from Long Beach to Newport Aquatic Centre, which was roughly 33 kilometres. And the weather was kind of scary leading up. Kind of scary in the sense that there was a lot of wind coming, but it wasn't in the correct direction. It was actually a heavy side wind / side swell. So we weren't sure what the conditions were gonna be like once we got out there. But we started quite a way out. So we actually paddled a couple of kilometers out. I want to say actually up to 3 to 4 kilometers by the time we got to the start line, but I'm not too sure. I didn't start the watch, but I measured between 33 to 34 kilometers from the starting position. So we actually ended up paddling more, you know, I would say more than 35, 36 kilometers. So big ups to everyone who completed the race, you know, especially those who are really new to the V1, because it was a tough race for us, for the top 5 guys who were doing this race. You know, and we've been paddling, some of us have been paddling for 20 plus years. So to those of you who, some of these have only been on a V1 a handful of times, they completed this endeavor. Congratulations to you guys, because yeah, it definitely was, the swell was definitely there, the wind was there, the rain came through at times. It was heavy and it was low visibility. But for me, it was still a pretty fun race. So right off the bat, you know, it was pretty much straight into surfing, a little bit of a side surf, you know, so you're kind of spending majority of your time on the right. But the goal in a race like this, when the swell is coming across you like that, is to try not to fall victim in following the direction of the wave, because that's only going to take you into the beach. Funny enough. What did I do? So early on, Steve Tehuatata took a pretty good lead, following by Darren, and then me and Manutia were battling for a little while there in the first half of the race, until I actually decided to run my line early. So basically the thing that I said not to do, I ended up doing. And because I wasn't quite catching the likes of Steve on his line, I chose to just ever so slightly change my angle and get a little bit more speed running the bump. But that kind of took me in close to the beach. Now, I didn't quite know where Newport was to go in, but I knew that I had gone a bit too early when I looked at my watch, and I was basically 15 kilometers in, which means I was barely even halfway, and I was like 100 meters off the beach. Whereas Steve kind of maintained at least, you know, 700, 800 to a kilometer width out wide. And although I caught up to them, you know, later on in the race, when Steve and Darren chose to take the speed like I did early, they managed to put a big distance on me. Luckily, it wasn't too bad for me to come back up but I had basically exhausted my faster line, I should say. But I was coming into the pass into the mouth of Newport Beach. There's still a few kilometers left to go, maybe 3 kilometers or so, or maybe a little bit more. I had Darren in my sights. Steve had a pretty convincing lead, and I basically just didn't even want to look back. My whole thinking was to just go as hard as I can, watch my GPS in front of me, try and maintain. I think I was trying to maintain like 11.5 kilometers an hour. Anything higher than that, that's all I was focusing on. I was scared that if I looked back and I seen someone really close to me, it would kind of like break me. I did take one look, but that was kind of when I knew the finish line was in sight, and I could see that Danny was pushing hard. I think he had taken a lead on Manutia at some point before the entry, and I know he would have been gunning for me too. So yeah, I only eased up when I knew the finish line was in sight, and but really stoked to get 3rd place. Here's my awesome medal. Baja California Series 3rd place. And I'm really happy with how the 5.4SI handled in that surf. I really like the volume of the 5.4, especially around the gunnels, because I stayed relatively dry despite the big swells that were coming over from the right, and sometimes when you're really trying to push and you're a little bit messy and you do something where the water's about to come into the cockpit, there wasn't a lot of water that came in, so stayed relatively dry. Didn't have to use a physical bailer, just the foot pump. So stoked with that. So the top 5 was Steve, Darren was 2nd. Those two had also podiumed the week before in Tahiti, so they were in pretty good nick, pretty good shape. Me 3rd, Danny 4th, Manutia 5th, and Rylan 6th. So awesome race. Amazing food after, especially the hot chocolate. That just helped bring everyone back to life, I think. The hot chocolate, the pulled pork, was it? And chicken and cookies. Can't forget the cookies. So yeah, big thank you again to Kelly, Danny, all the supporters of the race, the live feed, so everyone back home and abroad could watch and tune in to the race. And yeah, congratulations to the Blackfern Sevens again. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So managed to sell one of my paddles while I was over there, so I didn't come back with the very first new paddle design collaboration with Thai Paddles, but cool to know that one is living on in Arizona. So there's that. What's coming up? Basically, this is the year of the World Sprint Champs. So that is obviously the coach again for the elite men's team. So we've got trials coming up this weekend. The second trial, we've got a third trial, and then it's leading into the Worlds. But a reminder that the training plans, anywhere from 4, 8, 12, 16 weeks. So some upcoming races, there's the likes of the Molokai Solo is coming up. So if you're after a plan for that, there's a 12-week or 8-week plan there that would suit if you just line it up for that event. What else is coming up? There's some races in Tahiti. There's a memorial race for Kevin Kuida. There's the Tahoe race. There's the Aitor. If you've got a race coming up, you basically all you need to do is just figure out how much time you have between now and the race, and basically my plans allow you to peak for that event. So you just basically have to start the program so that you finish the program 1 week out, because that allows 1 week of taper. So when you're purchasing a 16-week program, you're technically purchasing a 17-week, because there's a 1 week taper in there that allows you to rest up and taper for your main event. So yeah, I mean, I wish I was going to the Molokai Solo this year. I currently am not going, but if anyone would like to sponsor my race, sponsor my trip to the Molokai for the Solo, I would happily start training now, and I'd get on my 8-week, or I'm not too sure how many weeks away it is, but I know it's not that far away. And yeah, or Tahiti, any Tahiti race, feel free. But in the meantime, I'm kind of setting my main sights on coaching New Zealand team for the sprints, and then we'll see where we go after that. A few other opportunities sitting on the horizon. I know Brazil really want Train Like a King to go back there, or potential opportunity in Portugal. But yeah, anyway guys, thank you guys for listening to another Train Like a King podcast episode. I hope the audio was good, I hope the video was good, and I hope I don't have to repeat this episode, but you wouldn't know about that if I had to. So thanks for listening, ka kite, catch you on the next one.